All right, I'm here with you can read my Skype, Princess Luna.
Oh, yes, that is
this
my name.
is this is Princess Luna. So um so we're discussing alicorns because what the fuck is going on with those? Nobody knows. We are gonna think really hard. And we've got the book, a very important book. I've got the other bullshit monitor pulled up. So we're gonna, I guess, start from the top and go from there. Where do you want to start? Because do we want to
Um,
start at Magical Mystery Cure, or do we want to start with Celestia and Luna? Because technically, that book wasn't written until the fourth season after Twilight was ascended, which fucking even brings up more questions. So, because I mean, the reason that book is in what is it, Castlevania, where the one where they're all like in the two
oh,
sisters castle and
yeah,
they're all
yeah.
like scared as shit, and Twilight's sitting in the library reading the whole time, and Pinky plays the organ. The book Twilight is reading is this book. That's their like merchandise plug in
It's
the show, which, as merchandise plugs go, is a pretty good one. It's better than the castle or the Ascension or Shining Armor and Cadence just being dropped on us randomly, where they're like, "Oh yeah, she has a brother," and we're like, "You could have mentioned this at any time."
I think
So
what's funny about it though is that like it's supposed to be over there like rain in Equestria, at least up until the old castle is not used anymore, and they turn it
yeah,
into like a 90-page book.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously the demographic for the book is going to be like little kids, but they throw us so much stuff,
Yeah.
so that's interesting. There are a few questions I have about it, but not really having to do with the alicorn. I mean, there's just questions about alicorns for days. The book does not
Well,
need to provide those.
there's so many questions because like they tell us things, but they never like make any sense with the other things that they've told us.
Okay, so let's start with. So we'll do what I did when we just started this conversation off camera. So you start the show. You got Celestia and Luna. They're basically Luna comes down as Nightmare Moon, and they defeat her with the elements of harmony,
Well,
which
I mean, it really starts off with just like
Celestia.
Celestia and then also an evil one,
Yeah, and
Nightmare
then
Moon.
they're like, "Oh, here's Nightmare
But then she's not evil.
Moon," and then they're like, "Oh, we fixed her." And then I mean, they give you the lore for that, with
Yeah.
the book, and it's all very good. I think you can buy that book too. I want to say, or at least someone's made one. There was one at BronyCon 2012. But anyways, so you get all this lore, and you're like, "Wow, background, it's cool." And but you're like, "Okay, they appear to be like natural born. They're the princesses. We basically all assumed that all princesses were alicorns, which is still
I
true.
mean,
That's still true.
yes.
All princesses are alicorns, but
Except for
uh,
Platinum. I
wow, that was like before.
I know.
Yeah. So, anyways, we'll get there. So, um, so yeah, you get those two, and you're like, oh, everything's good. You're going through season two, chugging along. You're like, yeah, alicorns don't have any real background, but they're
Well,
not confusing yet. So it's just sort of like this mystery, and that's fine.
they were like part of the show, like sort of, because she got letters from Celestia, but other than that, it was just like they're there, but they're not like the
Yeah,
story's not
exactly.
about them at
The
all.
story's not about them, and I mean, there's like obviously they're princesses, so
Basically, up until that point, you're just
yeah,
like, well, there's just two of
they
them,
raise
so it
and
doesn't
lower the
matter.
moon. So you
And then they're
basically
like,
assume they're like
look at this
gods.
this pink alicorn.
Yeah.
Who is
So
she?
so season two comes along, and she's like, I have a brother, and we're all like, okay, that's information we could have used like a season and a half ago, but all right.
Well,
And
not even it didn't even have to like be important, but like even in
just
her
be like,
backstory, if they were just like, she has a brother,
Or
look at
or
his
or if
brother.
like one episode she was like, "Oh, I'm going to visit my brother," while it's some like Rarity and
Yeah,
Applejack episode or something. Be like,
just like
"Oh," just
a
in passing,
one
anything.
episode name drop.
So well, that's not the point here. So they drop Shining Armor on us, and we're like, "Oh, that's weird." And then you get to Canterlot. They go through the little bubble that's protecting them from the changelings, and she's like, "Kate, who's Miabo Arcadenza?" And you're
Yeah,
like,
I never knew the actual name of one of my childhood friends.
yeah, I mean that almost seems reasonable because Twilight was so small. It would be like a 5-year old might not know like the official title.
I feel like a 5-year-old would be like at least hear
At
someone's name.
least, yeah, might not. Okay, so
Like my
I
sister's
can,
5. I think I could like tell her somebody's name, and she might not
and she
like be
might.
able to
I
like
don't
she
know.
wouldn't call them
I
that.
can
But
like forgive that a little bit because I feel like Twilight's like 5 there, and then she's like in her 20s, and but I mean, like she remembers Cadence, so it would be hard. But anyways, so then Cadence comes up, and we're all like, another Alicorn? What? I mean, are we going to explain this? And like, no one even like bats an eye that there's another Alicorn that has never been mentioned in the entire show's history. They're all like, "Oh, what's up, Cadence? Good to see you. Glad you're getting married." And we're all like, "Oh,
she has
okay."
wings and a horn.
And a horn.
You can't do that.
So you can't do that. So we get that whole good thing, and we're completely left without explanations by the end of the episode. And so I mean, we learn, I guess, that she has the Crystal Empire, and Ethan has glasses, and all that good stuff. So and so we're like, oh, okay, I guess we'll live with this. It could be way worse. It will be. And so we get, and then the season ends for season 2. You get, like I said, you get season 3. You get the Crystal Empire. Um, I, she's still an Alicorn, still no real explanation. But we all basically, I think we just all assumed that she was like another natural born Alicorn. They just never fucking mentioned for some reason.
Well, up until that point, we had no sort of
Yeah, there's no
baseline that
reference.
even
There's no reference.
alicorns were born alicorns or made alicorns. We
We
just
all
they were alicorns.
we
Like there
all
was
assumed they were. One, I
we
mean,
would assume they were born that way because like
yeah.
there's no reason to suspect anything else.
Yeah, it's like, well, and then of course if you get into the ascending, you're like, well, you get to like the unmoved mover argument where it's like, well, if one caused an ascent, if this Alicorn ascended that Alicorn, you have to like have some base Alicorn ascending
No,
people
but what
at
I'm
some point.
saying is there was like I mean
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Just like there was no reason
up
to
until the
assume
point
this.
where they create
An
the first
Alicorn,
the first Alicorn we see being created, which is Twilight.
Twilight.
There was no reason to suspect that like they were made in the first
So we're
place
just like,
because
oh, it's
even in the
another.
flashback younger Cadence, like I was saying, like she was still an Alicorn when she was younger. Like
Yeah,
there's nothing to ever suggest that
yeah,
Alicorns are ascended, and then it happens, and you're like,
yeah. I know they talk about Cadence being an ascended Alicorn at some point, and I'm gonna go look that up right now. But we did not know that, of course, at the time. So we're just gonna move on to Magical Mystery Cure, which is the Twilight Ascension episode, which is where everything just fucking loses it. You're like, well, first of all, the episode was obviously like Larson on one of the panels for I forget which con was like, well, the first thing we did was ask for 2 episodes, and then they were like, no. So yeah, that went not like we wanted. He goes, so we kind of just did what we could, and so I mean the ignoring like every other problem with the episode, ascending to an Alicorn just seems like to be fairly out of nowhere. Like there wasn't.
yeah.
I mean, she was like studying under Celestia, but you're not normally like, oh, studying. Oh, you're basically a god now. It doesn't.
Well, the whole God not
Yeah,
God
well,
thing is another
that
issue.
got messed up with fucking Candlelight Wedding, where we're like, oh, Celestia's gonna kick the shit out of Crystal. She's like, oh, fucking god. And then,
Oh God,
and
we're about to
then
get so off track. I don't even want to talk about it.
well, that does qualify for Alicorns, but let's continue down the season path, and we'll get back to all that crap later. So Twilight ascends, and we're all like, okay, I guess what's going on with so what is there a difference between ascended Alicorns and natural born Alicorns? And we know there's natural born Alicorns? Not clear.
Well, it's hard to say because like I would definitely say that Luna and Celestia are more powerful than Twilight, but you could also argue that they've been alive like a really long fucking time.
The thing I think most points to there being differences between natural born Alicorns and ascended Alicorns is we know Cadence, which I still haven't looked up, is an ascended Alicorn, and we see her as like a teenager with her cutie mark, and we know natural born Alicorns do not get their cutie marks for like a really fucking long time. Like yeah.
Yeah, because like clearly Cadence is not aging like over a long period of time because she was clearly younger when Twilight was younger.
Yeah. Lauren Faust was involved in the inception of the story where Cadence first appears, but she was not an Alicorn at that time. Um, uh,
See, this is my issue: is that they like introduce these alicorns and they're completely
just
unnecessary.
yeah, they're just like Cadence could have been a unicorn.
Yeah, if you just had
Why
this,
couldn't she have been a unicorn?
because they were like, "Look, kids, this one's special."
This one's special. Buy this one, and you're like, you guys, you can't just fucking do this. Oh, okay. So in one of the chapter books, which I have not read, it says the book tells the story of Twilight Sparkle after she'd been made an alicorn. Wait a second. Oh, she turns to Cadence, who tells her life story. How as a baby Pegasus, she was found in the woods by Earth ponies, who took her to their village. She grew up. She reversed a love-stealing spell cast by a pony. And then, yeah.
Wait. So Cadence originally was a Pegasus, which
Yeah.
means she can use magic.
Yes. I mean, she can use Pegasus magic, but that's not the same thing, right? As unicorn
That's
magic,
like
completely
weather
different.
and flying.
And
Those are
walking
the
on clouds, which probably qualifies under
I would
weather.
say
Yeah.
I would say it's both.
Yeah.
But regardless, how? Oh God!
Um,
Why'd you tell me this? You've just made everything even
I've
worse
made
somehow.
it way worse. So we know both Pegasi and
Well, I would
unicorns
assume
can
then
ascend.
anybody could become a.
Yeah, I would assume Earth ponies can ascend. But who
Look,
the
I
fuck
can
wants
pick things up with my hooves.
like who wants Applejack to ascend? That would be the most. That would actually be an absolutely hysterical episode, as much as it would just ruin everything.
Especially because like if that happened, you'd assume they were gonna send like all of the main six.
Yeah.
But then they should just do Applejack of all characters, and it'd be really bizarre and not make any sense. It'll be great.
It doesn't make any sense anyway. So we get this ascended alicorn, and we later have found out that Cadence is an ascended alicorn. So we have two ascended alicorns and two natural born alicorns. And guess what happens in season 6? We get a fucking natural born alicorn. And so the show has at this point just not talked about alicorns basically at all. They're like, oh yeah, they can ascend. And do they even say they're natural born in the show? I don't.
No. Here's you. This is the biggest issue, right? Because we have this book right here, right? Which I'm pretty
Beautiful.
sure came out prior to that episode.
To season 6, yes. Came out in season
Okay,
4, I
so
believe.
in this book, it specifically says that Luna and Celestia were born alicorns because they were raised by alicorns and taught by alicorns.
June 2014, for reference. Yes.
So
it
that
says,
has already been written and that's established. And then in the episode where the baby is born an alicorn, they look to Luna and Celestia and goes, "How can this happen?" And they just go, "I don't know."
yeah, it's literally like they're sitting there. We're like, oh, we're finally gonna get answers about alicorns. They're gonna have to address it, and they literally ask the question, and the show's just like, what? Show, could you
Maybe
botch
they
this
come
any
from a
harder?
pelican that delivers them at their mommy's doorstep. Like,
Where like the show could not have possibly botched alicorns any harder at this point.
so basically, if you're going by only the show, that episode makes you assume that Luna and Celestia were not born alicorns because they don't know how
or
a alicorn can be
yeah,
born.
or there's just some like crazy bullshit going on. So here we're gonna just start with the book now, I guess, because I don't have a better spot to fit it in. So they say they being like all the Earth ponies and the Pegasi and all that good shit, knew that Alicorn stood for everything Equestria was founded upon: love, harmony, and friendship. Because as the show tells you, and this book tells you, Equestria was founded by the Pegasi tribe, the Unicorn tribe, and the I don't think they're all called tribes. You know, one's like whatever. They're all basically
Well, the
tribes.
unicorns they had like a king and stuff, so they had like a kingdom.
Yeah,
And the
whatever.
Earth
You get the
ponies
point.
felt like they had more like of a small village, and the Pegasi were just like really militaristic. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Bob's here. So anyways, so we get that, and that's fine. And they chase off the Wendigos and found Equestria. And then this is the book where they transfer from Star Swirl and all of them running it to the princesses running it. So this is the princesses stumble upon Star Swirl and you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. You're just like, okay, they stumbled upon this is so then you get they become princesses, but let me just see. Okay, and then they have in here because alicorns age at a different rate than the rest of the pony races, which we all basically knew anyways, because fucking Luna was stuck on the moon for 10,000 years, and Celestia like didn't seem to age a day,
For a
which is fine.
1,000 hours.
She was banished to moon camp. So Luna and her did not have their cutie marks in the book when they're becoming princesses initially. So they're blank flanks, even though they're like way older than most. So that's fine. We're like, okay, so far everything makes sense, at least internally from the book and going from the Hearth's Warming story. So, and then way the fuck back here, so you can see, here's the chunk we're skipping. So Star Swirl and six other unicorns, I believe, were raising the sun and the moon every day, and then apparently that permanently takes away unicorn magic, which is obviously bad. And so Star Swirl, they like ran out of unicorns the one day, and so Star Swirl tried to do it himself. How he manages to travel through time and space and not be able to raise the sun is under question, but whatever, we'll believe it. And so he's like, he fails, and his hair goes white, and he's like, Celestia, Luna, you have to do this now because we can't, and you're special alicorns. And so they say, as we knew, alicorns possessed a level of magic far beyond anything a unicorn could ever imagine. Raising and lowering the sun and moon won't cause us any harm. If the myths he'd read were true, it would actually rejuvenate us, making our magic that much more powerful. And so they became the guardians of the sun and the moon. Ta-da! Which is great. And then that's basically the end. Here's where you get the Journal of Friendship included in this book. Here's the part
that we don't care about.
Yeah, I've actually never read this part. I read this in one sitting. It's not real long. And it's not a real high reading level, let me tell you. Which is fine. It's kind of like season 1 of this show. You like get past the target demographic and it's still like great. So anyways, but that's that. So we now know that alicorns guaranteed are real powerful, guaranteed age at a slower rate, guaranteed don't have their cutie marks for a fucking really long time, which basically just furthers the fact that Cadence was ascended, which is good, at least that's consistent. So where does that leave us with ascended alicorns? They clearly have to be different. How different are they? What can they do? I mean, Twilight held all of the powers of Celestia, Luna, Cadence, and herself in the season 4 finale. So when she fought Tyrek, so that's apparently a thing. It's just, what is going on? And will the show ever figure it out? What? So we'll start here. So Twilight ascends to Alicorn. We're going back to end of season 3. Ascends to Alicorn. We discussed that. We're good. So we get to season 4. What do? They start talking about it. We're like, oh, thank God. We're going to get some closure. They're going to talk about being an Alicorn. They don't really tell us anything about Alicorns, of course, because that would help. So they don't do the thing that would help. And instead, they're like, oh, you're an Alicorn and you're a princess, and so you're like more important now, and so we don't want to risk you. And I was like, I mean, she's kind of a god, not clear, not a god. Even Celestia's apparently not a god, just super powerful, because Chrysalis took her out, as we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So, but presumably she is more important now, so they should be more concerned. And so they're like, nah, fuck it. And I'm like, I guess. I guess. And so and then you're like, all right, what are they gonna do with her for the rest of the season? And it literally does not matter for like 90% of the episodes that have gone not only in season 4 but in season 5 and so far in season 6. It doesn't come up, and it only comes up when they want it to, which is even more obnoxious.
And like, none of it is ever like important. Like she never does anything in my mind where it's like if she wasn't an Alicorn, that couldn't have
See,
happened.
so we were doing this. I feel like the T-Rex fight, that just seems, if you're going to pick one, that seems like a really good one to pick where you're like, this seems like it might be important she's an Alicorn. Maybe you could get away with it. But if we're picking one, that seems like the episode where you're like, all right, it might be this one.
I feel like it'd be less damning for them to have done that episode where she was a unicorn, and maybe it would have made a slightly less sense than to make her an Alicorn, and then just like literally every other episode except for that is just like, oh, okay, but
Yeah.
why?
It's like, yeah, one, so she's like walking down the street of Manhattan. People aren't like, oh my god, it's a fucking princess. This happened with Cadence too. Cadence shows up, she's an Alicorn, and everyone's like, yo, what's up? We don't know there was a third Alicorn, but apparently everyone's chill with it. Alicorns just fucking walk around all day. I mean, there's only two of them, so you'd think when a third one showed up, they'd be like, oh wait, this is weird, but they don't. So, but we're just gonna blast through the episodes real quick. So, Princess Twilight Sparkle is the season opener for season 4 after
Look,
Magical
guys, I
Mystery
don't know
Tour.
how to fly.
Yes, that comes up, and you're like, aren't there more, as Ethan put it, aren't there more pressing issues to attend to? Like, literally, I mean, flying might be, like, kind of important and a fun thing to show, but you're literally, like, now trying to run a place or something? Probably you're a
Yeah, you're
princess?
like
Don't
literally
you,
now royalty.
don't you have some responsibilities? I mean, they, like, touch on it so occasionally, you might as well fucking forget about it. So anyways, the Princess Twilight Sparkle, they talk about it. We're like, okay, at least they're addressing her being a princess, even if we like don't love what they come out with. So point for the show for addressing it. And then there's Castlemania. Nothing. No reason to be an Alicorn at all.
Well,
So
I mean, yeah, no.
no, nothing. So it doesn't matter. Daring don't. It doesn't matter. Flight to the Finish. It's a Cutie Mark Crusader episode. So I mean it doesn't matter, but she's not in it a lot, right? So it doesn't matter. Power Ponies. They're in a comic book. It really doesn't matter. Bats doesn't matter. Rarity Takes Manhattan don't matter. In fact, that's the one episode where I'm like, shouldn't people care? What, you're fucking royalty.
Yeah, they're just like staying like a normal hotel room, and
Yeah, it
like,
seems like if they should incorporate it anywhere, it should be like those kinds of places. And then so we get Pinky Apple Pie. I don't even remember if Twilight was in that one. She certainly obviously didn't have a big role. So like okay,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Rainbow Falls still doesn't matter, I don't think.
I don't. Which one is that?
That was the one where Soren gets hurt and Rainbow Dash is going to take his place, but she also wants to compete with the Ponyville team for the
Okay, yeah,
Equestrian
no, that's
Games.
fucking irrelevant.
Totally relevant. Three's a Crowd. What episode is that? It's the one where Twilight and Cadence are gonna like have a nice evening off just as sisters, and
Oh, Discord sick.
Discord's sick, and we get John Delancey doing a glass of water, which is great, but still don't need.
I don't think she
Because I
like
was
her.
thinking about it as like, oh, they're hanging out as princesses, but they're not. They're hanging out as like
I mean, the whole point was that
sisters.
like I felt more like Cadence wanted a day off than Twilight wanted a day off, because like Twilight doesn't do anything
Twilight
princessy ever.
ever. We're discussing. So
So like, yeah, she could have been a unicorn in that episode, and it would
totally
have
could
been
have been a unicorn.
exactly the same.
Pinky Pride. That's the Weird Al episode. Right? I'm not wrong about that, am I? Yeah,
No, that's
that's
right.
the Weird Al episode. Simple Ways. What the heck is that?
Is that the one where the families get together for?
I think that's the later season.
Is it?
Let me
I'm
look it
just
up.
thinking the name would fit.
Yeah, no, I know you're. Oh, that's okay. Irrelevant. That's the one where that guy comes to town that Rarity has a crush on, and then he
Oh,
develops a crush
okay.
on Applejack, and they both act retarded the whole episode.
Yeah.
That episode. So doesn't matter there. Philly Vanilli. That's the one where Fluttershy's voice gets lowered and she replaces Big Mac for singing. Actually, a good episode. Again, Alicorn doesn't matter. Twilight Time. Alicorn matters for the plot.
Well, the
They
thing,
only bring it up for the plot. They literally could have had it in Manhattan. They could have had it in basically every other episode. They're like, you know what? I think we're gonna do an episode on this finally, and we're like,
see, my issue with this is that yes, it deals with her being an Alicorn,
but it wasn't
but it's
required.
still so unimportant that they could have done the same episode with her still being a
See,
unicorn,
if at
and
the end of
instead just being like, oh, she knows Celestia,
if at the
so
end
like
of
she's basically
season
famous.
if at the end of season 3 Twilight had like gotten to the next level of her studies instead of like ascending to godhood,
Well, even if she didn't, like, they could have just
no,
been
I know,
like,
but I'm saying like that would be you would still be able to get a lot of this stuff really easily if you did that without like all these weird complications that we now have. Cadence is still kind of a mess, I suppose, but yeah, I will give the show points for because Cadence is like the princess of love, and so, Twilight is like the platonic princess. So like it's sort of like Celestia and Luna are sun and moon, and they're like platonic in love. It kind of makes sense. That at least seems like okay. That was at least like they thought about that, and that seems like all right. As opposed to like most of the stuff with the Alicorns, where
I
you're
don't know
just
that I
like,
necessarily agree with you, but
well, it's at least not as bad as the crap we normally get. So okay, Twilight time, relevant but not required. Well, that's what we'll call it.
okay, yeah.
Relevant but not required. It ain't easy being breezies. That fucking episode. Not required. Again, still not required. Some pony to watch over me. I want to say, is that the Sweetie Belle episode with Luna, or is that? It's definitely I think a Luna episode. Google to the rescue.
Isn't the Scootaloo one first?
That is, but that's Sleepless in Ponyville, and that's season 3. It's prior to Ascension. Oh, Some Pony to Watch Over Me is the one where Applejack's like totally babying Apple Bloom, and then Apple
Yeah,
Bloom's
when
like, I can do
Applejack's
everything on my
character
own.
just like goes off like the deep
Yeah,
end, and
so
it's
it's
like,
like
oh, Applejack's
Applejack's
always act like that the whole time.
Applejack's, yeah. The times well that's I was saying this like the show's best when it like puts the characters in situations with each other and then like has them play off each other and like grow as characters and you see their character as opposed to like when they're totally out of character. Some Pony to Watch Over Me kind of has that. Spike at Your Service is just so fucking bad where Spike's like, I'm a fucking idiot this whole episode.
Well, that's every Spike episode is
Every
literally just
there
Spike's just gonna act like ridiculously stupid just so we can make an episode about Spike.
or he's just yeah, they're just like we'll get to Equestria Games. Ugh. Anyways, so okay, Some Pony to Watch Over Me. Maud Pie doesn't matter. From For Whom the Sweetie Belle Tolls is the one where Sweetie Belle like Rarity makes the dresses and Sweetie Belle gets jealous and then she fucks
Fucks
up
it
Rarity,
up, and
fucks
then
it up,
Luna's
and
like,
Luna's
"Why'd you fuck it up?"
right.
And she's
Luna's
like,
like,
"Oh
you
yeah, why
shouldn't
did I do
that.
that? That
And
doesn't
she's
make any
like,
sense."
she's like, I'm gonna show you the future and it's gonna be bad. And Sweetie Belle's like, oh man, you showed me the future and it was bad. So I mean, it was a good episode. I
Oh
liked
yeah,
it.
it was good. It's
It was a
just
good. I mean, you.
the usual cutie mark crusaders acting like idiots BS.
I mean, but they're at least like I feel like oh they're idiots, but it's all right because they're kids, for the most part. They have more of a license to be an idiot than like Applejack or something.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so For Whom the Sweetie Belle Tolls, Leap of Faith. What episode is that?
Is it the Granny Smith Flim Flam one?
Oh, I bet you're right. I would bet money you're right. I need to search MLP after that. Yep, that's the Granny Smith Flim Flam one. Alicorn Don't Matter. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Just shout out. I fucking loved that episode. I thought it was so good. But Alicorn not relevant. That's the
Which
one
one was
where
that?
that's the one where Dash needs to pass the written Wonderbolts exam, and Twilight's trying to teach her, and Dash has like a really weird learning style. That's that episode. I really liked that episode. Not relevant. Traja. Relevant, not required. Again, that's the one where they're like, Twilight's like, oh, I'm the princess, so I like make sure all the deals are fair, but as long as everyone agrees it's fair, it don't really matter. So my job's basically useless. But ignoring that, Celestia could have been like, hey, can you go to like this trading thing and do this for me? And that doesn't, I mean, it seems like a
Yeah.
small enough thing that it doesn't require a princess to be there. It would be expanding Twilight's leadership roles and like authority, and I'm good with that. That's not the problem. So good.
I mean, it feels like she has no authority because she doesn't use it, but
Yeah.
like never once has there been an issue and she's just like, "I'm the princess, stop doing that," and everyone's like, "Okay."
Yeah, yeah, it just doesn't come up. So then we get Inspiration Manifestation, where Rarity gets the evil book, and Spike is Spike. And shit goes down, and they fix it in the end. So Inspiration Manifestation again, Alicorn not even relevant. Equestria Games, Alicorn relevant? Not really. I mean, she like sits with the princesses, but I don't kind of. It's not like the episode doesn't hinge on that at all. So I'm
And
gonna
it's not
say
other than that, like they're never like Twilight's a princess. Like that's not part of the
yeah. It's
episode.
just it's just not
It's just
important.
we set this up for a very long time and you're looking forward to it, but here's basically everything you didn't want.
They're like, hey, you remember the Equestria Games episode we've been setting up? Hope you didn't want it to
Have
suck.
a shitty
It's,
Spike episode instead.
it was. I was thinking about this. I was like, thank God it was a Spike episode, and we could all just hate on Spike more. If it had been some character we liked, it would have been way worse. If they like built it up and it was a shitty episode. Just because we can still funnel hate into Spike, and nobody fucking likes Spike. Poor Spike. All right. So Equestria Games again. Alicorn not relevant. Shitty episode. Anyways, Twilight's Kingdom. This is the one where Ethan doesn't think it's required, but it's at least more strongly required than in all the past things.
I just think that like yes, it is required the way they went about it, but I think you could still have that episode even if she wasn't one.
Yeah.
Which is my issue because like maybe I'm just that's the way I think. But like I haven't seen an episode where it's like if she wasn't an
The
Alicorn,
only, I mean, like
they
going
could
back to
get
the
that.
book. I mean, they like literally say Alicorn magic is like more powerful, and that like basically unicorns can't possess it. So I'm willing to give that one like the benefit of the doubt and say used and required. Only 2 episodes so far. It's the season ender, so of course it's 2 episodes. But out of 26 episodes we've had, I mean, I guess it's required for the season opener. So 4 out of 26. That's still not a fucking good ratio. That's what fucking
Just like you
2 for
say
13.
4 out of like 26, but it's like that's more like 2 out of 26 because they're double
Yeah,
episodes.
exactly. They're double
And
episodes.
compounded with the fact that the season opener was like it was required, but they dealt with the most like inane bullshit with it. Like they didn't talk about the important things.
Okay, so well that one's actually
Oh,
where
we
they
could still say 4, but I'm just saying
yeah. I get what
it's
you're
like
saying.
a not a great 4.
Okay,
The ending, the T-Rex fight, that was an amazing episode.
that was a great fight.
But I still don't think it was like really the Alicorn thing was necessary.
Yeah. On to season 5, uh, we get the cutie map. Okay, so now we're in the castle. So I don't. Is Alicorn required for the castle? Probably.
I mean, she could have got a fucking castle without getting wings. Let's be honest.
or at
But
least like somewhere nice. And then the other thing is the cutie map is like magical. It's not clear if Celestia had anything to do with the cutie map. My gut tells me she must have because she's Celestia. Although I also kind of get into like the Trollestia headcanon,
it
which I think they like totally confirmed in the season 6 opener. One of the only things I liked about that opener. But I have an absolutely terrible
definitely
video on that.
feels like she has her hooves in everything that goes on, regardless
Yeah, she's just
if like it
or
looks like it or not.
yeah. So okay, I don't for the actual plot line of the episode, like everything to do with Starlight and all of that. Alicorn not required across the board. For the map, we're gonna tentatively say no. I think they could have done it without it, and in a much more reasonable way than they could have done like T-Rex. I don't know if you agree with that, but
I mean, I, I again the Tarek thing. It's like I get that it's sort of necessary the way they did it, but I felt like they could have still done it. The map, it feels like it's not really connected.
yeah,
Like
like
they
you
could
could have
just
done
as
the
easily been
yeah
like, "There's new friendship problems that this magical map's giving us." Like it doesn't.
yeah.
It's not like you're a princess. You have to do these princess things. It's just like go solve some problem for somebody because friendship.
Yeah, I mean, there's still friendship problems, basically. Right? Well, I mean, they literally are. They have I guess this was season 4, but I mean, they have the what is this? The Journal of Friendship. I mean, you can fucking easily get away with it.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, I guess the justification is that she's the princess of friendship, so it's her job to solve friendship problems. But that's literally what she was doing in every episode prior to becoming a
Yeah,
princess anyway.
yeah.
So
It's like, oh, there was a friendship problem. I'm solving it, and now they're like, hey, you have to solve more friendship problems because you're a princess. You weren't doing that before. Anyways, so Castle Sweet Castle. I mean, this has all to do with blowing up Golden Oaks and the new castle, and not so much her being an Alicorn as much as like her old place got blown up. So as long as you had T-Rex blow it up, you don't require Alicorn.
no,
Because you would have had this problem regardless of what new place she got. The castle, I think, kind of amplified it because it's
because it
like
was
this
a
big
fucking
empty.
soulless, empty
And yeah, well,
shithole.
and I mean, it's literally a soulless, empty shithole. It's awful. And so we're all like, man, I feel really. We like connect with her. We like, I fucking hate that place.
Yeah, we hate the
man.
castle too, Twilight.
I have to say, I love the song in that episode. I thought the song was really good. It's grown on me, but as I played it on the iPod. All right, Bloom and Gloom is the next episode, episode 4 of season 5. What episode? Oh, that's the Apple Bloom
Yes.
Luna episode where she's like, "Oh, I'm a pest pony." Wait a minute, I'm not a fucking pest pony. And she's like, "Oh, I've been being tortured by Luna this whole time." I guess that's actually kind of fucked up now that I think of it, but
I mean, it felt to me like Luna wasn't influenced
oh,
as
yeah,
much
you
as
might
she was
be
just
right.
like there to help
Watch.
her.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
But on the other hand,
That
I
would.
mean, if we assume that the princesses work in their like mysterious way,
No. I think it would be much more interesting if Celestia was like super hooves on, and Luna just sort of like let it all go. And I think that would also fall into the Solar Empire versus the New Lunar Republic pseudo headcanon that the fandom seems to have. That like Luna splits off and she has like a much more free society or something. I don't know, but that would be really cool. Totally irrelevant to the Alicorn conversation. But I feel like that would be like actually a really interesting thing the show could do with their characters, because Luna actually has some characters. Celestia is just Celestia.
well, that's the thing. Like, they have Luna episodes because, like, well, partly because the fandom loves
The
Luna.
fandom fucking just is rabid for Luna. You like fucking throw Luna on a hoodie and you'll sell 1,000,000 of them.
But yeah, there's never been like we're gonna have a Celestia episode. That just doesn't happen because
Yeah,
I feel like it's also because Celestia fills a different
yeah, she definitely
role
fills a
in
different
the.
role. Luna, I think, probably lends herself a little bit better. I feel like with Celestia, they could explore the Alicorn thing, so we're never gonna get an episode. It's
And
just
another thing that like, I mean, this is again kind of getting off topic, but we are literally talking about Alicorn, so I don't feel too bad. The whole like Lunar Republic, Solar Empire thing. It feels like, I mean, Luna was gone for like a really long time, but it also feels like she interacts with people more than Celestia does.
yeah, more
Like Celestia
directly.
is more like the actual ruler, whereas like Luna has gone to Ponyville and like
Met,
actually
yeah.
interacted with people in a social setting. Whereas like whenever Celestia is around, it's just like I'm here for some like party that's like I'm in a dignitary
Yeah, she was
position.
there for the wedding for episode 100, which I mean, you can kind of fit that in your canon how you wish. I feel like, um,
I
but
feel like that
yeah,
episode has no place in any
that's what
canon.
yeah, that episode's kind of weird when it comes to canon. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, Celestia just kind of goes around. She's there for the Equestria Games, but again, it's like an event. She's there for events, not just like
Yeah.
wandering around to like Nightmare Night in Ponyville when all of Equestria is presumably celebrating Nightmare Night. Also, that I always wanna Nightmare. That's just like so fucked up when you think about it. They're like, yeah, we banished Nightmare Moon, and then Luna walks in, and you're like, oh, that's pretty fucked up.
Sorry you had to stay on the moon for so long, dude, but
Oops.
have a party to
Have
celebrate
a
you going
party
to the
to
moon.
celebrate your banishment, and she's like, okay, I guess. Totally off topic. Back to on topic. Okay, we got past Bloom and Gloom. Alicorn not required. Tanks for the memories. Fuck that episode, man. It was. I mean, there's like episodes where Rainbow Dash is just retarded, but this is like a whole new level of
Every
retarded.
I but I like Rainbow Dash when the episode's not about Rainbow Dash, and then the second the episode's about Rainbow Dash, she just turns into the most awful character.
I feel like, um, testing, 1, 2, 3. Like, you could argue they made her retarded, like, oh, she can't study, she's stupid. But it was really, I think, more about, like, learning styles and that she wasn't actually dumb. So that, and I feel like her character played out really well there. They didn't, like, caricature her character to fit the episode. They, like, actually had her her character is well written, is what I was trying to say in that
I
episode.
feel like they still did, but like not as much as certain other
Yeah,
episodes. Like,
maybe I'm
I'm
just
gonna
like so used to it
destroy
being
Winter.
ridiculous. Yeah, yeah, it's like I'm gonna fuck up all of winter to save my pet, and you're like, does it not cross your mind this might be a pet? She like literally says in the song, she's like, I know it's wrong, but what does it matter? I've been listening to the songs a lot, but you're like, I mean,
We're off
sometimes you're
topic
like,
again. We gotta
oh my
focus.
god, we're gonna have to. Maybe I'll cut it out and we'll use it for something else. But God, all right, make new friends but keep Discord. Alicorn again, not required. That's the one where like Discord and the other and 5 of the main 6, not including Twilight, like go out and have fun and Alicorn. Twilight is like redoing the Dewey Decimal System or something in her library and stays in the whole weekend and then comes out and they have all these inside jokes and she feels left out. Alicorn not required. Let's see. The Lost Treasure of Griffinstone. That is a Pinky and Rainbow Dash episode, is it not? Not required. Good episode though. Slice of Life. That episode. Not required again.
Not this. God.
We can talk about that one some other time. I'm sure there's millions of things we could say. Fucking Octavia's right there. Anyways, Princess Spike. Actually, that one, Alicorn required because it's about Spike filling in for Twilight making important decisions in the only episode we've ever seen her make important decisions in.
She
Or
doesn't actually make them.
she doesn't actually make them.
I'm gonna take a nap.
I'm gonna take it.
So yes, I agree. That one is required because
That
it's
one is
about her
required.
being a princess.
It's about her. Yeah.
Well, it's
It is
not
it is.
about her being a princess, but like
It's
that's
about
a
her
major
duties. It's about her duties as a
issue.
princess, and then Twilight not fulfilling them, and Spike fulfilling them poorly. Yeah. So
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still just another Spike's
We're
an
up
idiot
to-
episode, but
it is. But all right, we're up to 5 episodes. 2 of those are really like one episode. Now we've got the Vulcan sign, but okay. Party pooped. What episode is that? Quick Google, please. Oh, it's the Yak episode. That episode wasn't very good, but Princess Not Required. I mean, she's supposed to host the Yaks when they come to Ponyville. Why they're coming to Ponyville isn't clear, because if you look at the Equestria map, like, Crystal Empire is here, Yakistan's up here, fucking Canterlot's here, and Ponyville's here. They're literally gonna, like, pass through Canterlot, whatever. Ignoring that, Princess Not Required, presumably? I mean, Celestia is literally there, so...
I mean, the problem is they're sending them to Ponyville, which may or may not make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but so even if she wasn't a princess, Twilight's clearly the person Celestia would have chosen to greet them there.
Yeah.
So if you're assuming that they were just going to Ponyville and Twilight's hosting them because she lives in Ponyville, it makes sense. But if you're going to assume that she just wanted Twilight to host them and that's the reason they went to Ponyville, then it would be required.
Yeah, I mean, Twilight's like supposed to be like the royal delegation that's meeting them, but you could definitely do that without the princessness. Again, it's just sort of, it's a step up from
basically
Traja.
goes up. It depends on how you decide to interpret it, because like they don't say in the episode, because like it could be just because like Twilight's the new princess, so she should meet with these foreign people.
Yeah.
But like they
That's a
don't
good point.
say that, so I would say like a plausible MythBusters kind of scenario.
We'll give it a half. How's that? So we've got 5.5 episodes now. So, okay, Amending Fences, good episode. Not Alicorn required. I guess they at least talk about it in that episode, but again, it's applicable, not required. And I guess she's in Canterlot, so they're not going to freak out. They know she's royalty.
Well, I mean, yeah, they say like, "Oh, you're a princess now." But like
Yeah, she's like, oh, you're a princess now.
the
Why
whole
am I
point of the episode
important?
is that like she used to be a shitty friend. It's not like I'm a
Yeah.
princess now, so now I have to do this because I'm a princess. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
It's just sort of there. So not required. Uh, let's see. Do princesses dream of magic sheep? That is the Luna episode where she has the Tantabus. Not required at all. Interesting episode. Someone made a good point to me today about Luna's character that I'm not going to get into because this is about Alicorns and not Luna's character. But I think I've grown to like that episode more after that conversation, which was only like 2 sentences, but still. Anyways, Canterlot Boutique, Princess. Oh, Princess Dress.
I guess we have to say it's required, but it pains me because it's like
They could have
the
used any
worst.
other princess.
Or it could have just not been a princess dress.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's the Twilight dress or something. That's
Or it could
actually,
have
I
just
think,
been
would be
like
way
it could have
mean.
been any kind of dress and like the same thing could happen. It just like happened to be princess related. So like I, I feel like we should I feel like we have to say it's required, but like they could have also had the same episode regardless.
Yeah, yeah, I
And she's
agree.
like not even in it basically, which is also another
Yeah,
issue.
which is also they sort of yeah. I do have to say, like I think they've gotten better about Twilight being a princess. Like season 4, they were, as we covered, like absolute garbage at like doing the whole princess thing. And as the seasons have got on, they've at least like acknowledged she's a princess, and even if it's not required, like a bunch of these episodes, they're at least mentioning it. You don't even get that in most of season 4. So I guess applause. I guess.
I mean, I still feel like they could be doing a much better job than Princess Dress, but
Rarity investigates.
no.
Doesn't even make an appearance, I don't think. If she does, it doesn't matter. Made in Manhattan. What episode is that?
That's the one where they do the play thing with, or no, is that the first Coco Pomel episode?
Coco Pomel was the first one where Rarity takes Manhattan. She goes to
So this is
Manhattan.
the second one where they fix up the
Oh,
park.
yes. That was a really good episode. Princess still not required.
No, she's
Okay.
not even in that episode because
Not,
it's Applejack and Rarity,
yeah.
right?
Actually, she might be in like the very first scene where Applejack and Rarity are going there. I could be wrong about that. She might not be in it at all. You might be right. So, but yeah. So, not required. Not even relevant. Brotherhood Social. Not required. Not relevant. But I at least thought Brotherhood Social was cool in the fact that it was taking place at the same time as Made in Manhattan.
Hmm.
Even from the start of the episode, they acknowledge that. So cool. But Crusaders of the Lost Mark, totally not relevant. Cool episode, not relevant. The one where Pinkie Pie knows, not relevant at all. They would have been fucking telling. I can only hope. I mean, we didn't know she had a brother for 2 seasons, so maybe they would have been like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we had a baby a season and a half ago," and we all would have been like, "But
Well, on the
yeah."
bright side, then that episode wouldn't have happened. So.
So, uh, yeah. Then so okay, the one where Pinkie Pie knows, not relevant, not required. Hearthbreakers. What one is that?
That's the Hearthstorming Eve family.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's okay. Not
Did they do
relevant.
2 Pinky episodes in a row?
Yeah, they did. Now,
Hmm.
now that I'm looking at it, yeah, they did. Interesting. That's a good point. All right. But again, not relevant, not
No.
required. What about Discord? That's the one where Discord's jealous because
Of the hippie lady.
yeah, of the hippie lady.
I
There was
don't
an
even know what her name is.
tree hugger. The most hippie name you could possibly have, but
Yeah,
I guess they could
they
have
didn't
named
think
her.
real hard about that one.
I guess they could have named her Pothead, but that's not exactly kid friendly. So, the Hooffields and the McColts, not relevant.
I hate that episode.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, it's just like every other Hatfield and McCoy episode. I'm not even sure they did it really well. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Main attraction. The main attraction. What episode is that? Google to the rescue. Maybe. Oh, how could we forget Rah Rah? That's the Rah Rah episode. How could we possibly forget that? Such a good episode. Not relevant. not required.
That actually like might be my favorite episode of the show, just
It
period.
it was so good. I love that
Mostly
episode
because of the
to
song that
pieces.
came out of it.
I mean, the song is so good, and the Aviators remix. If you haven't heard, I guess I'll like link it here right now, just because it's so fucking amazing. But yeah, not relevant, not required for Alicorn. The cutie remark, not required, not relevant. I mean, hell, the most powerful magic being cast in that episode was by Starlight, who's a fucking unicorn. So, good shit. The crystalling. I hate my life. The crystalling was not relevant, not required. I'm gonna say. I mean, it's the
I
babies.
there's I can't even start talking about this episode.
And then the rest of them you haven't seen, so I'm gonna have to like run through them real quick because you're not gonna have any comments. But I mean, Twilight would have been there regardless because her brother's there and her
It's her brother's
sister-in-law's
fucking
there.
child.
Yeah, it's her brother's kid, so she would have been there regardless. Doesn't matter about the princess. Not relevant, not required. So then Gift of Maud Pie, not relevant, not required. On Your Marks, not relevant, not required. Gauntlet of Fire, not relevant, not required. Second Prances, that was the not relevant, not required Trixie episode. Spoilers. Newbie Dash, not relevant, not required. Hearth Swarming Tale, not. See, okay, hang on. We gotta pause for a second because in the season opener, and I made a point about this when we watched it. Twilight now has Starlight sort of as like a pupil, like Celestia had Twilight as a pupil. Twilight now has Starlight as a pupil. Not quite to the same extent, I feel like, in power difference there was between Celestia and Twilight, but she has a pupil. So I don't think she necessarily needs to be a princess for that. She definitely would have needed to be at the second point of her studies, which is why I think having the season 3 finale do that instead of make her an Alicorn would have been good, because you still could have done this kind of thing and gotten, a good story progression and character progression. But yeah. So but that's relevant for Hearthswarming Tale as well as the Crystalling. So I'm still gonna say for those not relevant, not required, but I should at least point that out. Applejack's Day Off was the one that aired last Saturday. Not relevant, not required. So we've got like maybe 10 episodes where it was relevant and not even.
Yeah, it was something like 7, but like a lot of them were like it was relevant, but it was like, come on.
Yeah,
Like,
you're sort of like, that's where we're like not required. But yeah, there's like almost none where it's required. And like I said, they get better at acknowledging it as they go on, in the seasons. But yeah, so I mean, like this is part of the problem. The way I have the way the show has dealt with it, even when they acknowledge it, it just sort of seems to be like, oh yeah, it's there, but we're not going to deal with it. Like they don't actually make it relevant, like we've been saying. It's not relevant. It's not required.
and it's like they only deal with it when it's like we have to deal with it.
Yeah, there's sort of it's like, or when they're like, all right, we're gonna do an episode about it. When they make it a plot point, it's relevant, and every other moment in every other day, it doesn't matter, and that bothers me. So
God, like, what were we even fucking talking about before we got on this whole tangent about Twilight?
well, yeah, because this is just how the show deals with Twilight.
Oh, I guess we still have to talk about Flurry Heart now, don't we?
Well, what is there to talk about, really? I mean,
She basically the way I look at it is that like pre-Cadence, you assumed that Alicorns were born Alicorns.
and and we kind of assumed, which is, by the way, not true. That they were the only Alicorns. There were a race of Alicorns. This book does not tell you what happened to them. It just says that.
It just like basically mentions them at the very beginning.
Oh yeah, Celestia and Luna grew up with other Alicorns, and you're like, okay, don't know what happened to them. I'm fine with that, really. I mean, at least we get a little bit of background. They leave the mystery in. I don't have a problem with this. That's what I like. Wish they had done with the show. They like give you little tidbits that like keep you nibbling on, what might be true without like fucking everything up.
So anyway, you assume that they're born, right? And then Cadence comes along, and it's like,
sort of like,
what? Okay.
I guess she's born too. And
but
then
you're like,
okay,
I guess she's born too. And then they turn Twilight into an Alicorn. You're like, Okay, so maybe all alicorns are made into alicorns, right? Because there's nothing to suggest that they aren't. And then the baby's born.
Well, and then we get the
Well,
book, and we
if
know
you,
that's
I'm
not
just
true.
talking if you
Yeah, if you
discount this
just
book,
watch
which
the
most
show.
people wouldn't have read.
Yeah.
So you get to the point where like now the baby's born. So you're like, okay, so maybe all alicorns are born again, or like at least some of them are and some of them aren't. But then they asked Loon and Celestia about it, and they're just like,
And it was bad enough in the episode. Like if you had only watched this show, you might have been like, that was really dumb, but I guess because if you're still assuming that Celestia and Luna are ascended, that would make sense. But if you know they're natural born, then it just throws everything into this fucking tailspin, and you're like, what is going on? Like my plane is going down.
yeah, but and then another thing is that if you're assuming that Luna and Celestia are ascended, which is kind of what the show implies,
Implies. So yeah,
there's the whole issue of like, okay, well then who made them into alicorns, and then who made them into alicorns?
yeah. The unmoved mover that I mentioned earlier. So you're sort of like, where do they come from? Um, Yeah, I'm not gonna like get into the details of why I think like Twilight's Alicorn ascension is bullshit. I guess it's because it doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that she did ascend. It doesn't matter the actual episode itself. So thank you for watching. I feel super generic YouTube here, but like, subscribe, comment with ideas. Thanks for watching.